When we look up at the night sky, it's easy to marvel at its beauty and vastness. But not long ago, humanity's relationship with space changed forever. The 20th century gave us one of the most thrilling and ambitious chapters in human history, the space race. This fierce competition between the United States and the Soviet Union wasn't just about exploring the cosmos. It was a high-stakes contest of technology, ideology, and sheer determination that culminated in the most extraordinary achievement of the modern era, humans landing on the moon. Today, we're diving deep into the space race, tracing its roots, exploring the pivotal moments, and reflecting on its lasting legacy. This is a story of ambition, ingenuity, and resilience, and it shows what humanity can accomplish when we dare to reach for the stars. To understand the space race, we have to rewind to the aftermath of World War II. The war had left the world divided into two powerful blocs, the capitalist United States and the communist Soviet Union. Their rivalry quickly evolved into the Cold War, a period marked by intense competition across military, economic, and cultural domains. One of the most critical arenas of this struggle was technology, and at the heart of it was rocket science. During the war, Nazi Germany had developed the V-2 rocket, the world's first long-range guided missile. After the war ended, both the US and the Soviet Union raced to acquire this technology, as well as the German scientists who had created it. Among them was Wernher von Braun, who would become a central figure in the US space program. This scramble for technological superiority laid the groundwork for the space race. The first shot in this cosmic contest came on October 4, 1957, when the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. This shiny metallic sphere, about the size of a beach ball, orbited Earth and emitted a simple beeping signal that could be detected by radios worldwide. Although Sputnik was relatively primitive, its launch sent shockwaves through the United States and the rest of the world. It was a dramatic demonstration of Soviet technological prowess and raised fears that the same rockets capable of launching satellites could deliver nuclear warheads. The US government scrambled to respond. In 1958, it established the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, to coordinate its efforts in space exploration. The same year, the US launched its first satellite, Explorer 1, which carried scientific instruments to study cosmic radiation. This marked the beginning of an intense and sometimes perilous rivalry. The next major milestone came in April 1961, when the Soviet Union achieved an extraordinary feat, sending the first human into space. Yuri Gagarin, a 27-year-old cosmonaut, orbited the Earth aboard the Vostok 1 spacecraft. His flight lasted just 108 minutes, but it was a monumental achievement that made Gagarin a global icon. The US was again left playing catch-up, and the pressure to demonstrate its own capabilities reached new heights. Barely a month later, on May 5, 1961, NASA launched Alan Shepard into space aboard the Mercury Redstone 3 spacecraft, nicknamed Freedom 7. Shepard's flight was suborbital, meaning it didn't complete a full orbit of Earth, but it was a critical step forward. Shortly afterward, President John F. Kennedy addressed Congress and made a bold declaration. The United States would commit itself to landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth before the end of the decade. This ambitious goal catalyzed the U.S. space program, leading to the Gemini and Apollo projects. Gemini missions were designed to test the technologies and techniques necessary for a lunar mission. These included spacewalks, docking maneuvers between spacecraft, and longer duration flights. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union was pursuing its own lunar program, but a series of setbacks and internal challenges began to erode its early lead. While the competition was fierce, it was also fraught with danger. Both nations faced tragic losses. In 1967, the Apollo program suffered a devastating setback when a fire broke out in the Apollo 1 command module during a pre-flight test, killing astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee. The Soviet Union faced similar tragedies, including the death of cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov in the Soyuz 1 crash. These losses were stark reminders of the immense risks involved in space exploration. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new daily videos. Despite these setbacks, the drive to achieve the moon landing pressed on. The Apollo program reached a turning point with Apollo 7, the first successful crewed mission in the program, and Apollo 8, which took astronauts on a journey around the moon, and back in December 1968. This mission provided breathtaking images of Earthrise, where the Earth appeared as a fragile, glowing orb above the lunar surface. These photographs would become some of the most iconic images in history, reshaping humanity's perspective on our place in the universe. Finally, on July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 launched from Kennedy Space Center. On board were astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. After a 4-day journey, the spacecraft entered lunar orbit, and Armstrong and Aldrin prepared to descend to the surface in the lunar module, Eagle. On July 20, 1969, Armstrong stepped onto the moon's surface and uttered the now famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Aldrin soon followed, and together they spent over 2 hours conducting experiments, collecting samples, and marveling at the desolate beauty of the lunar landscape. Meanwhile, Collins remained in lunar orbit, piloting the command module, Columbia. The moon landing was an unparalleled achievement. It fulfilled Kennedy's audacious goal and symbolized the triumph of human ingenuity and determination. It also marked a significant cultural moment, as millions around the world watched the event live on television. For a brief moment, humanity set aside its divisions and looked to the stars in awe. The space race didn't end with the Apollo 11 mission. In fact, NASA conducted 6 more lunar missions between 1969 and 1972, 5 of which successfully landed astronauts on the moon. These missions expanded our understanding of the moon's geology and origins, but public interest in space exploration began to wane as the novelty wore off and the costs mounted. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union shifted its focus to space stations, launching the first-ever space station, Salyut-1, in 1971. The U.S. followed suit with Skylab in 1973, and the two superpowers eventually began to explore opportunities for cooperation in space. This culminated in the Apollo-Soyuz test project in 1975, where an American Apollo spacecraft docked with a Soviet Soyuz spacecraft in orbit, symbolizing a brief thaw in Cold War tensions. The legacy of the space race is immeasurable. It advanced science and technology in ways that continue to impact our daily lives, from satellite communications and GPS to medical imaging and computer technologies. It also inspired a generation of scientists, engineers, and dreamers to push the boundaries of what's possible. But perhaps the most profound legacy of the space race is the perspective it gave us on our own planet. The famous Earthrise photo and later images like the blue marble reminded us of Earth's fragility and unity. These images helped to inspire the environmental movement and foster a sense of global interconnectedness. Today, space exploration has entered a new era. Nations like China, India, and private companies like SpaceX are making incredible advances. From robotic missions to Mars to plans for returning humans to the moon, and even reaching further into the solar system. While the competitive spirit of the space race may have faded, its legacy endures in our collective drive to explore, understand, and innovate. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most exciting chapters in human history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. There are so many more fascinating stories to uncover, and we'd love to have you along for the ride. And as always, stay curious.